sọ̀yà àtúmúyà rẹ̀ tí ò lọ́rọ̀ gbọ́ àfiṣẹ́rú wálé wàràǹgbòjì ọmọ onílé ọ̀la àwọn àjòjì tó ń ṣe ségesège tán láwọn oníbomi kó símú wọn láwọn oníbomi sọ̀yà wẹsẹ̀ ìgbà tójú kò fi rí ń kọ́ gbogbo wọn náà sáré bomi kó símú wọ́n sì bomi sọ̀yà wẹsẹ̀ ọmọ abẹ́rẹ́ mẹ́ta òde ayé ọ̀kan ṣẹ́ ọ̀kan tẹ̀ ọ̀kan tó kù ní gbogbo ayé fi ránṣọ kiri gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá Sunday Igboho onírèlẹ̀ láéláé torí àgbà lásán nìkan ń dá òkúta ò ṣe gbé fún wọn o ìmọ̀ràn lásán ni ti balùwẹ̀ ó pọ́sibú kó dòdò láyé ń bí ó kún díẹ̀ kí tọ́ domi láéláé tọ́ mi lè domi Sunday Igboho arógun má ti kí tó ń jà fẹ́tọ̀ Yorùbá ní tilé tó kó. Bọ́dá Island àgbà lẹ́ni blue child jákàmọ̀ 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 jákàmọ̀
Very good morning and welcome to our lecture as we kickstart again this morning. And I would like to also use this opportunity to say a very big thank you to all our listeners around the world and likewise all our followership as we continue to use this platform to educate millions and millions of people around the world on the reasons why the Yoruba people would love to exit from Nigeria. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, as many of you know, and I'm also going to be doing a presentation this morning. But also, I would like us to appreciate many of the Western journalists that we've started engaging, and we've started telling what narrative about the Yoruba Nation movement. This morning, I'm going to be reading from a particular article that was produced by Mattew Carr, a senior journalist, 30 years in the industry, giving his own analysis on part of our discussion to change the narrative that the Western media talks about the Yoruba Nation campaign. Many people might call us separatists, many people might call us secessionists, but like we always say, we are the indigenous people that have been around for a very long time. We have been existing before the exploration of the 15th century of the Portuguese. We have been existing with a well-civilized society with our own government before the slave trade. So this morning, we're going to read about the article that was produced by Mattew Carr, like I said, 30 years senior journalist in the industry, in the media. And also, I would like us to follow his platform so that these are the reasons why we say to the Yorubas that every single one of us must be on Twitter so that we can be able to read from the right source, not the mainstream media that are very biased, that will not say exactly the way it is. So we will be reading from Mattew Carr this morning, but like I always say, if you sit back and do nothing, nobody is going to come and support and do exactly what you want. The Yoruba people will continue to give their own narrative as against the biased narrative that has come out from most of the Western media, especially when it comes to Nigeria. It is all about their own selfish interest, not the interest of the indigenous people, not the interest of the Nigerians that are put together in this fraudulent amalgamation of 1914. And this is why we continue to say that this is a platform that you need to sit, you need to listen, you need to follow, because this is the only journalist that can deal with the corrupt society that has been put together in Nigeria. We have not started the program, but if you like to follow Mattew Carr, Matthew is also on the X, which most of us still call Twitter, at Carrz. I'll spell that Carrzee. I want us to go there and make sure we follow his platform. It is very, very important. So let us follow Mattew Carr. We've not started the program. I need to get the charger for this laptop. So that means we still have just about another few minutes before we go into the program.
Koikimedia, we're bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Koikimedia, 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 we bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Koikimedia, 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 we bringing the world closer to your doorstep. I was a lot of àwọn ló lásà àti èdè ìgbéde lárugẹ nílẹ̀ Oòduà àwa gangan ni bàbá Koikimedia, 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 we bringing the world closer to your doorstep. They never sabi wetin we carry for her, but e dey move closer before dem go sabi. I said they never know wetin we carry for body, but e dey move closer before dem go sabi. Ọ̀kín lọ lọ́jà ẹyẹ, ìníhùn ló ló lájú. Ẹyẹ tó lọ rí kòtò bí àdó ọ̀pọ̀ ìgbélé dùn. Ká ṣiṣẹ́ fún ilẹ̀ bàbá wa, ká ṣiṣẹ́ fún ìlú bàbá wa. Kájùmọ̀ sowọ́pọ̀ ká lè gbódúdú àga. Gbódúdú ọkọ̀ bá lè gbé wá. Ọmọ Odùduwà ṣe kiri. Ẹ dìde fún ẹ̀kọ́ adúláwọ̀. Ká lè jọ jùmọ̀ gbé délẹ̀ ìlérí. Káwa lè gba ògo ilẹ̀ wa. Ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká lè jọ gbàdé. Ká lè gbàdé adé adúláwọ̀. Àwa ni mọ̀lẹ́ tí yóò tàn káàkiri. Ìyàbọ̀ Odùduwà ni wá. Koikimedia, àwa là ń gbé tó lárugẹ. Ètò tó gbójú owó ìwà mọ́ni. Kásá. Ẹgbẹ́ polówó ọjà wá kájé gbúgbà yín jẹ. Ètò tó gbójú owó ìwà mọ́ni. À ń gbé tó lárugẹ, à ń gbàsà lárugẹ. Ètò tó gbójú owó ìwà mọ́ni. News and sports, ẹ máa rí gbọ́. Ètò tó gbójú owó ìwà mọ́ni. Ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú alárẹ̀ mi ló ní kí n máa ké tantan. Koikimedia, ọ̀rọ̀ lágbájú mọ̀ mi o. Máa bá ṣẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ. Ọmọ Yorùbá nìyẹn, ọmọ Yorùbá tata. À ń gbádùn rẹ, ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú alárẹ̀ mi. Ṣé ìlọ máa fi dìbò ọ̀bẹ mọ́lẹ̀? Ẹ̀yin lọ́mọ onígbò máa ń dé máa dé máa dé. Ẹ̀yin lọ́mọ onígbò máa wọ̀ máa wọ̀ máa wọ̀ o. Igbó máa wọ̀ àjòjì ò gbọ́dọ̀ wọ̀. Àjòjì tó bá wọ̀ bẹ̀ àgbẹ̀lẹ̀ ní ẹ̀bọ̀ra. Ẹ̀yin lọ́mọ náwó kóyìnbó tó dé. Ìgbà tó yìnbó dé o, owó nàdẹ́ tún pọ̀ sí o. Koikimedia, sáwà ní bàbá. Koikimedia, àwọn ní bàbá. Koikimedia, àwọn ní bàbá. Àdáńtọ́, àtúnpèrè gidi. Koikimedia, àwọn ní bàbá. Àwa là ń gbé tò lárugẹ jẹ́ ká jọgbọ́ o. Koikimedia, àwọn ní bàbá. Àkúnjà fẹ́tọ̀ ilẹ̀ wa, fẹ́tọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Koikimedia, àwọn ní bàbá. Ọmọ Oòduà ni wá o, kọ́kàn. Koikimedia, àwọn ní bàbá. Ikú tó ṣe bí lébi òsì, àdìmú bàbá yọ. Koikimedia, àwọn ní bàbá. walk closer to your doorstep. Koikimedia, afẹ́fẹ́ tó ń fẹ́ òògùn kan ní ògo lára mi. Koikimedia, àpèrègèdè Olódùmarè ló fún wa ṣe. Koikimedia, gbogbo ayé ẹ gbọ́ àwa ní bàbá o. Koikimedia, ẹ máa bọ̀ wá ẹgbẹ́ polówó ọjà yín wá. Koikimedia, òtútù alágbèdá ní òtítọ́ lágbèdá ní. Koikimedia, àti sọ̀dálẹ̀ àti sódìkẹta. Koikimedia, àdúrótán àkópèrègèdè. Koikimedia, Koikimedia, we bring you one closer to your doorstep. Koikimedia is around
To give us latest,
is around
to give us latest.
ladies and gentlemen.
Ẹnu kalẹ̀ sílẹ̀, ẹ̀tẹ́ tí ẹ gbọ́ ètò tó kojú gbogbo.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ẹnu kalẹ̀ sílẹ̀, ẹ̀tẹ́ tí ẹ gbọ́ ètò tó kojú gbogbo.
Koikimedia is around.
To give us latest.
And we're going to give you the latest, and let's go straight into it. I have just about half an hour to the presentation this morning because I have other engagement to do, as we say. We'll always be out, but like I always say, this particular next 3 months is a very busy month, so I might not be in and out as much as I have told you that on the Star Radio UK for now, I will not be on the platform. There is a work and a project that I'm doing behind the scene, and that is also taking away my time. I have repeated that again. You will still be seeing Archie, but I will not be able to join Archie like I do in the morning. So I'm going to go straight into this article. This article was produced by Carr's www.carz.org. You can find the link, or you can also follow the website, or you can follow him on the X. Matthew Carr was a journalist that I met just about less than a couple of days. The narrative that the Western media are pushing out is that the Yorubas and those that are asking for the right to self-determination are separatists. They are also pushing the narrative that we are secessionists. We are those that wants to break away from Nigeria, but they are not telling the truth. And this is the reason why we will continue to speak the truth to the Western media, to the Western leader, as we are seeing Anthony Blinken in Nigeria that has arrived in the last couple of hours. We are saying to the American government, we are saying to the European government, the African Union, that Nigeria needs to dissolve so that the indigenous people can go back and live their life just as the people in the European countries are living their life without being killed, without not allowed to live like human beings. So as Anthony Blinken arrived into Nigeria to see the Nigerian government, we hope that it will be pushing the message of those of us that are campaigning for the disintegration of what the Nigerian government refused to listen to. What we are fighting for is not a war. It is a message of hope for millions of indigenous Yoruba people and the rest of the 250 ethnic groups that was put together by the British force in what we call the fraudulent, most biased amalgamation in the century. It is time to de-amalgamate Nigeria so that every indigenous people can go back and live their own life just as those in America, in French, in Germany, and around the world are doing. You cannot force people that doesn't want to live together in this contraction called Nigeria. And this is why I would like to appreciate Mattew Carr for taking it upon himself to put out with his own pen. We told you that we will break up Nigeria from outside the country. For those of you that still refuse to listen, we will speak to as many individuals, as many journalists, as many players around the world to tell them that the Yoruba people have been in existence. And let us appreciate Professor Adebanji Akintoye, the leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination Campaign, that took it upon himself at the age of 88 years old to say to us that there's nothing called Nigeria because Nigeria is not a country. Let's look at what the former leader of the Yoruba people, the legend as we call him, the late Obafemi Awolowo, he said, and I quote, that Nigeria is a mere geographical location, and that location does not belong to Nigeria, it belongs to the indigenous people. Let us look at what the former President Jonathan said, and I quote, that there's nothing called Nigeria. It is the British that wants to keep what is called Nigeria today, and we will break that last empire so that the real, true indigenous people can go about their way. That doesn't mean that we will not have relationship with our neighbors. That does not mean that we will not engage those that we have lived together, because the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991. The world did not come down. So for those of you that kept on saying that we should continue with the fraudulent election is not going to solve the problem in Nigeria. Election is not the solution, because the first ever election was rigged by the British government in 1959. And as we say, 47 years after the fraudulent amalgamation, we have to go back and fight for our independence in 1960. The independence was not what we have today. What we decided at Lancaster House in 1957, 1958 was a regional government that everybody managed its own territory. Everybody managed what belongs to them, and then we will do a little bit to the center. But as usual, the European and the colonies refused to allow the settled of what is known as Nigeria, as at the time after the election, we went into a civil war. The military took over. They destroyed the regional government and then gave us what is called the most biased federal system that is keeping many of us behind bar, as many of us are living in prison 45 years after we've left Nigeria. Some of us have refused to go back. So when some of you come and tell us that Nigeria is working, we hope that the Western media will start putting the pen, just like Matthew Carr, on his opinion and reporting. So I'm going to read from that article, but remember to follow at Kazi, which is spelled C-A-R-R-Z-E-E, Charlie Alpha Romeo Romeo Zulu Echo Echo on the X, so that we can continue to tell them that when we see articles like these, we appreciate it, and we hope other mainstream media would take the baton and say exactly it is that the indigenous people, just like the Scottish, want to exit from the union that from Great Britain. Just like the Irish people decided to stay on their own, the war did not come down. That does not mean that we will not have relationship with those that we have lived together. We do not speak the same language. We don't have the same background. We are not the same culture people. Why then have you put us together that is creating many deaths in the lives of the Yoruba people and the rest of those that are living in Nigeria by the British that call it Nigeria? January 24, 2024. And the headline says like this: Nigeria stupidity. Yoruba people want to move beyond the World Economic Forum, the World Bank, and the IMF colonialist washing machine. That is a very beautiful headline. And this is why we say to you, the pen and the voice goes better than the bullet. We will wake up the minds of millions of people and tell them that we are the indigenous people. Let's read further. A region of Nigeria wants to determine its own future. Who are we in the OECD? I have told you about OECD so many times. Many of you might not know. To stand in its way, why should bullshit colonial decisions made decades ago hold so much sway? Check out Olayomi Koiki's YouTube below and subscribe and donate if you can. An Englishman, an Australian man is now telling you to donate to me so that we can continue to fund this media. We have told you that without funding, it will be very difficult to challenge the status quo. is now also telling us, this is what I present almost on a daily basis. Support this media platform. He is now also telling you to not just subscribe on my YouTube channel, you should also donate if you can. It is voluntary. Go to 1.40 hours minutes and have a listen. If you have a short of time, is referencing back to my article, to my YouTube video that I did on Monday. I like the way he whispered to the camera. He loved the way I whispered to the camera. Thank you so much, Matthew Carr. And we hope that this will be the beginning of a new era of why we will say that we don't have any issues with the British citizens. We don't have any issues with the European citizens. We love them. We appreciate them for accommodating many of us that have lived with them for the last 2 decades. But what we do not agree is their government continue to be biased, telling us we are Nigerians when a Nigerian passport as a Commonwealth citizen does not allow you to get into UK. I believe I am journalist in reference as taking an interest in his message. I told you on Monday that we had a very good conversation after spending almost 8 hours in a training section that engaged us at the union office on Monday. We had journalists from Al Jazeera, from BBC, and so many independent media as well. And we will continue to engage each and every single one of them on the main reason why the Yoruba people refuse to be part of what is called Nigeria again. Let's go further. It says the biased global corporate media misconstrued the situation. The biased global corporate media. Many of you look at those media and think that they are the one that will tell you the truth. Many of you are still waiting that those media will be the one to give you exactly the narrative of who we are. They will not tell you who we are. We are going to tell you who we are. Koikimedia and the rest of the campaigners of the Yoruba Nation movement, and likewise the Biafra and the Middle Belt, and likewise the Hausas that are also popping up. They say Yoruba people are separatists, but they are merely wanting to move towards the situation that existed before the stupid colonialists got involved decades ago. These stupid colonialists kept us where we are today after over 500 years of slave trade. He went further to say, it is several years ago that the Yorubas have been given an autonomy. In 2014, 100 years have expired of the fraudulent amalgamation. It is already 9 years behind. We should not even be in Nigeria again, but because many of our corrupt politicians working with the colonialists, working with the puppet World Bank and the World Economic Forum and the IMF. And that is why Wale Edun, the current government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is seeking $1.5 billion as another loan that will entrap us into the colonialists, and my own generation to come will end up paying that debt. How much have they borrowed? What have they done with the money that have been borrowed in the past? Nothing to write off. All the road network into all the Yoruba land is a debt trap. We have the Boko Haram terrorists that the federal government refused to call terrorists, but rather they kept on calling them bandits. There is nothing like bandits. These are full-blown terrorists that wants to take over our territory. Not just our territory, all things from the land to the waterways. We saw how the former President Muhammadu Buhari said, and quote, allow all the jihadists to come into the country, and that is why there's kidnapping back to back. As of this year, only God knows how many lives have been taken by the Fulani terrorists in Nigeria. Many Christians continue to be killed, yet the Christian Association of Nigeria refuse to speak out because most of them are also biased. They are corrupt as many of the colonial that they work for. So when some of you think that you have Christian leaders, you don't have Christian leaders. You have the puppet working for the Western media, Western influence that continue to tell you that everything will be done in Jesus' name. Jesus is not coming anywhere. Jesus is not waiting for us. We should take what belongs to us, which is our freedom. Idiot. Let's go further. It is several years ago that the Yoruba have been given what it takes to move on. there's a fake borders of the 1884, the Berlin Conference. Many of these conferences destroy what is known as Africa today, and that is the reason why there is still friction around the world in those borders. That is Koiki resonating message. He also attached a YouTube message that I said in his own website. I want us to follow him. Since the 19th century, the Yoruba have found themselves forced into a political and economic union with peoples with who they have absolute nothing in common. We don't have anything in common with the rest of the 250 ethnic groups. We should never have been merged together with them in the first place. First, towards the end of the 19th century, the British unilaterally abolished the Yoruba Empire. Did you hear that? We have our own empire, just as the Great Britain continued to keep what they call United Kingdom, the British monarchy system, where the politician continued to stay behind and the king controls the whole country. But it's a reverse in Nigeria. Your kings are under the politicians. It is what the British literally did. Destroy and collapse our own monarchy system while they kept their own functioning and running till date. We have our own Yoruba Empire, which had been in existence for centuries, and annexed it into a territorial that they call the Southern Protectorate. They had it as the Southern Protectorate and the Northern Protectorate. That was not even enough for them. And in 1914, January 1st, they decided to merge it together. And now everybody celebrates a shit old country you call Nigeria, calling itself 110 years old. And yet, 63 years of independence, there is no stable electricity across the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, including the FCT. There is no stable, constant electricity for 63 years. And many of you continue to say we should live together. Let's go into it again. The protectorate designation was not to protect the Yoruba people, but to protect the lucrative commercial interest of Britain in Yoruba land. It was for the Britain Empire that wanted the lucrative of what is underneath the Yoruba land and the rest of what is known as Nigeria. Second, in 1914, the British, without consultation with the Yoruba people, amalgamated into the country, Nigeria, the Southern Protectorate and the Northern Protectorate that had also previously established. They established those protectorates. Now, without consulting us, they decided to merge it together. And today, we are saying to the British, this is the time to de-amalgamate what you amalgamated in 1914. The British introduced separate governments for the two protectorates in their recognition of the fact that the Yoruba had nothing in common with the other people in the amalgamated territory. This is written by Mattew Carr. Remember to follow him at www.cars.org, or also follow him at website and Twitter handle that I'll be sharing with us in the course of the program. Number three, third, in the 1950s, during the various consultations regarding independence, the leaders of the various ethnic groups, we are not tribes, we are ethnic groups. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael Ade, for the super chat. In 1950s, during the various consultations regarding independence, the leaders of the various ethnic groups in Nigeria made very clear to the British their desire to go their separate ways. Indeed, the Yoruba leaders were opposed to the idea of one country. The British refused to grant independence unless the ethnic leaders agree to form one country. Therefore, the parties were forced to agree to a federation of autonomous, self-governed regions with separate constitution. Go and read the constitution that we had prior before the independent up to 1963 constitution and compare that with the fraudulent constitution, which I can now also link to say that that constitution, as we've heard so many times, because it will be nice for many that are our non-Yoruba listeners. And when I say to you, do not force some of us to speak Yoruba, because we're not speaking to you anymore. We are communicating with the international community to be able to look into what we are discussing, because Yoruba is our language and it will remain our language. But when we are communicating on the Koikimedia, we've got to speak English so that we can communicate with many people that wants to listen and hear what we are saying, especially those that have interest on our cause. I am not your vlog or your blogger. I am a media organization. I am a journalist, a freelance. So let's read into the 1999 fraudulent constitution before we continue with Carr. Once again, my name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. Remember, it is your own responsibility to share this program and share that article. That is an article that should be in our archive so that the generation to come will remember people like Mattew Carr that stood out of so many Western media that refused to speak and write with their pen exactly what it is. Mattew Carr will be remembered in the history of the Yoruba people. I hope some of you have seen the article. If you haven't seen it, go on our social media. It has been posted this morning, and I hope this is what Yoruba people should be sharing. You should be sharing this in millions of times, because these are the kind of words penned, written by real serious Yoruba lovers that knows the truth, like Mattew Carr. And I said to you, Mattew Carr, thank you so much for taking it upon yourself to put this in pen, because there's nothing much powerful than the pen. The pen is much powerful than the gun. So when some of you talk about the 1999 Constitution, maybe we should listen to this.
See, if Nigerians are complacent and they will not stand up to immoral conduct, then we justify that particular conduct. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And quite sincerely, the judges too, they have part of the blame, but they don't have all the blame. The problem, I think, like the patriots pointed out a long time ago, is that that Constitution, Decree 24 of 1999, is a diktat. It's a military diktat. It tells a lie against itself. What you are brandishing as the Constitution of Nigeria is an illegitimate instrument. There's nowhere where we all agreed that that would be the Constitution.
Even though it begins with we the people.
No, that's the lie that I'm talking about, and I'm not original here. The patriots have said it, okay? And Ben Wabose continues to say it. I attend meetings on the black table where Ben Wabose presides, and he will tell you that Constitution is a fraud, that we have to jettison it and do an autochthonous constitution for ourselves. So please let us recognize the limitations of the 1999 so-called constitution. We need a constitution which reflects the spirit of the age, which captures our imagination. And that's why I say acquiescence by the generality of the people is what has pretended to lend legitimacy to an otherwise illegitimate instrument.
The 1999 Constitution is an illegitimate constitution. Again, remember to follow at Carr, known as Mattew Carr, on the X space. Let's go quickly because I have just about 10 minutes because I have to move on because of the other engagement we have this morning. Fourth, in 1966, the Nigerian army committed a crime against the state when they assassinated elected leaders of the Yoruba land, abolished the self-governed western region of Nigeria, the home of the Yoruba people. Many Yoruba people that are old enough will remember the western region. The western region built the cocoa house. The western region gave us the free education, give us free medical. The western region created multiple PhD holders of Yorubas that are now all doing kalo, Okada rider. Some of them are trapped abroad. Some of them are dead already. Some of them died in pain because they were unable to fulfill the vision of what the legend of Obafemi Awolowo wanted. Let's go into the fifth one according to Matthew Carr. In 1999, the Nigerian army, when leaving office, foisted on the Yoruba a constitution that was neither negotiated nor agreed with them, just as we read earlier on. Maybe we should just slot in another one. So when some of you come out and say the 1999 constitution, that constitution can never give us peace. That constitution can never give us progress. Let's listen to this as well.
I dare to tell this nation today that this is the problem. This constitution can never give us progress. This constitution can never give us peace. This constitution can never give us unity. And unfortunately, most of us in this National Assembly, we don't have the spine to face what we need to give this republic to have peace and progress. What do I mean? This constitution has 68 items. 68 on the exclusive list. This constitution has only 12 on the concurrent list. And those 12 are written so nebulously, so fraudulently, that you know that the intention is to even undermine those concurrent.
That is two different individuals. One is a legal practitioner, one is a former senator, telling us exactly that the fraudulent constitution that the military gave us as we were going back into the 1999 democratic rules is what is still being used by the present administration. So when many of you come out and defend this Nigeria, you are also defending the corrupt and the biased constitution foisted on every single Yoruba people and the rest of what is called Nigeria by the British in 1914. Which constitution? That fraudulent constitution that will never work. Let's move swiftly because of the time. According to Mattew Carr, again, I go back one step. Fifth, in 1999, the Nigerian army, when leaving office after annulment of the 1993 general election that was won by a Yoruba man, but yet Babangida is still alive, decided to annul that election because it's still part of the puppet for the IMF, the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, and the rest of them that has kept us where we are today. And that is why we are still looking to borrow 1.5 billion US dollars. Nobody negotiated nor agreed with them. Between 1966 and 1999, the Nigerian army abolished the rule of law and governed without the consent of the Yoruba people. From 1966 till 1999, they destroyed everything that Baba Awolowo built during the regional government. They took away our radio. They took away our television. They took away everything from us and stripped us naked. And that is why today, many Yoruba people are walking like a dead man. After more than 100 years of being forced to be part of the country, Nigeria, as outlined above, it is now the wish of the Yoruba people to right the wrong that have been perpetrated on them to establish their own country, the Oduduwa Republic, the Yoruba nation, with the membership of the United Nations. You can see what Carl just wrote. I hope you are already saving this kind of article, sharing it with your children, your grandchildren, as I speak to you this morning, because these are the individuals that are still very, very loyal and honest to humanity. We have not given him any dime. I have not paid Carl to write these. But if we can only appreciate him by going to follow his page, continue to share his work, that is all we can do for him. Because this is what your biased, corrupt media, brown envelope could not write without calling us secessionists and separatists. Like I said to you, you don't have media in Nigeria. All you have is corrupt, biased media, and we will change the narrative from outside the world. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. As I leave you this morning, remember that Nigeria will collapse. It will collapse very soon. Good morning to each and single every one of you that have joined us from Easy Shegun Honor, that have joined us on the Instagram, that have joined us on the TikTok, that have, no, sorry, we don't have TikTok anymore, that have joined us on Instagram. I will not be able to mention all your name. I got to go now because I got other engagement to do this morning. But right now, let me say thank you so much, Mattew, Carr, for pushing the message that the Yoruba people have been talking about, especially from the Western media that have refused to write and say the way it is. That is just the first layer. I will not give you the next snip. The next snip view is coming again. This is just the beginning. 2024, we will use the media to change the narrative that many of you don't want to know. I am OLAYOMI KOIKI. I am your last man standing on this Yoruba nation. For those of you asking why I've not been on the Star Radio UK, I'm working on some project. And that means I will not be on Star Radio for some time. But I'll be back again on there. But you can keep an eye with Archie as I continue to give you all the update from the zoo country. Thank you so much to my wife. Thank you so much to my mom. Thank you so much, Baba Kitoye. Igbowo, we love you. We will love you till thy kingdom come. Play your part. I am playing mine. Don't come and tell me Nigeria is working. To all those that died during the bomb blast that they're telling you is not a bomb blast, I hope that Eledumare will be able to heal you all. And maybe we should just hear the voice of Igbowo.
You can say anything you like about me. I don't care. I'm still strong because God is my creator. But remember, this world is not our home. We will live one day. Thank you.
We will all live one day. And that one day, I hope you will play your part just like I'm playing mine. Remember to donate. It's voluntary. Donate to the media that will challenge the status quo. Thank you so much. Peter Oladele, Ariwo Makbo, Elede Adoyo, Sunday Adebanjo, Zoo Nigeria is finished since 1960. No love between the Igbos, Hausa, Yoruba. Okay, Nigeria is a British business center. We close the broadcast as usual with this. Thank you so much. Remember, it is your responsibility to share, cut, distribute. Muke Entawa Lori Mixelar. Bye for now.
Let me blue time.